I'm Clayton Henry, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics. And I draw great stuff.
This is the big one.
Oh, boy.
15 years, and it's all led to this.
16, but who's counting?
Well, it's not 16 yet, is it?
May. It'll be next month.
Yeah, it'll be
So 16 years. Wow.
Yep.
What's wrong with me?
I ask myself that every day.
Seriously. How many friends do I have? Maybe, I can count 3. Fortunately, you 2 were in the 3, so. Hey, everybody. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 919. What is that, Dap?
Palindrome.
It's a palindrome. And I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. Neither of our names are palindrome. I am David A. Price.
I could call you Bob if you want.
Oh, I could do that too. And of course, I am Biotron.
Wow, that's a strange pick.
It is.
It's a very strange pick. I thought you would be Bug.
Couldn't even make it through the book.
Yeah. Well, no, but not for long. Oh, yes. You're not Biotron. You're Jason Wood, everybody, here on this, a very special episode, because we are taking a look at Micronauts, the Marvel Years, Volume 1. And where did we get it? Well, we got it from cheapgraphicnovels.com. That's where we bought it. Cheapgraphicnovels.com have everything you want at a fraction of their price on the back. They have manga, OGNs, trade paperbacks, and, such as this, omnibus editions. Far less than retail prices. Go there, buy something, and save. Reply to the email message that you will receive from your order and say 11 O'Clock Comics sent me. And Max is going to give you free shipping on your next purchase. So it's like this delicious piece of cake with the most amazing icing slathered all over it. That's the shipping. It's the icing on the cake. Cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Boom.
Bada boom.
Bada boom.
Listen, before I ask you that, Vince, you got to tell us what you're drinking.
Now, I'm just excited. Like, there are few books that have been published that mean more to me than Micronauts. Very few.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is it's just a joy to be able to talk nothing but Micronauts for an entire episode. Like, pinch me. And I have a hot take that we'll get to later down the line. It's a fairly hot take, I think. And because it's a hot take, I'm quenching that heat with some blackberry lemonade. It's delicious.
Seeing a trend develop. I am enjoying some pink grapefruit bubbly lemonade, some seltzer.
I am pretty much done, so I figured I'll go back to this Venus and Furs from last episode. Did drink a whole lot over the weekend, so yeah.
Yeah,
so
continuity is a very good thing.
Yep. Which covers did you boys purchase for your Omnibus Volume 1?
See, I knew you were going to ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not usually a purist, but if you didn't buy the Cockrum cover, you bought the wrong one.
Agreed. We are.
I don't remember there even being an option, to be honest with you. What were the alternatives?
The other one was a Michael Golden cover that he did. It was an unused. No, it's an unused cover for the first issue.
There was the Ditko cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a Butch Geist cover.
Wow, how many covers were there?
How many covers were there? Oh, James.
4. And the Golden. Not the unused, but like the house ad minus Microtron and Biotron. That's referenced inside. It's like a house ad or an upcoming title image. But yeah, so there's the golden, the Geis, the Ditko, and the one that everybody's supposed to get, the Cockrum.
Yeah, that Cockrum cover is friggin' amazing.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that dude can do cover images.
It's actually like, depending on where the cover is cut, Rand's foot is actually lands on the bottom of the page. So it's not, it doesn't look like it's like floating in air. It's like he's actually standing on the bottom of the cover. So providing, you get your comics cut a certain way and they're not lopsided or slightly askew, it lines up just right. But yeah, it is a good cover. And Cockrum was, we were talking in the last episode about certain artists and pitching in or they're pegged to do certain things, and Cockrum did a lot of covers for Marvel in the 70s.
He was very good at it.
He wasn't drawing.
He was very good at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So I don't think there's going to be much drama on this one, but Vince, I will ask, when did you first read Micronauts?
Oh, this is the first time with this book.
This book right here. I just went on a whim.
I was crazy for Micronauts back in the day. I bought it off the stands. Yeah, I was absolutely insane for that book.
Nice. Dak, what about you?
For me, it was I didn't buy the first issue off the stands, but I did get some of the issues from within the first year, as they were coming out. So yeah, I would whether, not that I was going to the comic shop, but if they were at the flea market that my aunt would get comics from. So they were fairly new. It's not like they were months old by the time they got to me. So it was like, I remember, as we were going reading this omnibus, a lot of it's probably gonna be something I'll repeat throughout the night, but there were memories just kept flooding back. I know, I pretty much know exactly where I was sitting on the bed when I was reading certain issues. I know where I was at my grandmother's house. So it is late 70s, early 80s, but yeah, they were pretty much read brand new as they were coming out.
Yeah, it's odd you should say that, because I have similar connections with books. I can tell you exactly where I was when I read them for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Micronauts was, I get a summertime vibe from Micronauts, reading them on the back porch. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where, our we joke about our age difference, I think, plays into here, because I was a little too young to be buying this off the shelves. But I do remember reading random issues of this, picking them up off the rack back in the day when you would just buy comics randomly. And I definitely remember having the toys, but I didn't read the entirety of what's in this omnibus proper until this week.
In continuity, you mean?
Yeah, in continuity.
Right,
the entirety of this. So some of these issues were stuff I had never read before.
Well, that's okay. Better late than never.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'm not alone. Because this wasn't easy to find. It wasn't in print, So this was, I think a lot of us were waiting for these omnibus to come out so we could either re-experience these things, or in some cases experience them for the first time.
Yeah, and as the run progressed, it became difficult to find, because there was a period in Micronauts where it was direct only. You could only get it in comic shops.
It was bi-monthly.
Yeah, it was removed from the newsstands and shunted into the, I don't want to say shunted, but it took a segue into the comic shops. It was a little Marvel experiment, I guess. And that was the death knell. It didn't last much longer after that.
That was after this first volume had pretty much wrapped up, because you had the towards the end of this run, you had the X-Men Micronauts limited series. Shortly after that, this volume concluded, and then we had the New Voyages with some Kelly Jones art.
Yeah. You know you're hot stuff when Marvel decides to team you up with the X-Men, because the X-Men were red freaking hot at that time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this Micronauts book looks like it's doing pretty good. Let's cross them over with the X-Men. And I think it was a brilliant move. I don't know how well it sold, but I'm sure it put some more gas in the Micronauts tank, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not enough to save it, obviously, because it did. But again, I mean, if you're direct market and you're being, you're bi-monthly, what do you really expect? And it was co-written, but it is one of those rare times where, in the early '80s, Chris Claremont wasn't a solo X-Men writer, because Mantlo and Claremont both wrote the limited series.
Right. Team up.
Yep.
It was a true team up. Yeah. I think Mantlo could have handled it himself, but hey.
No, he could have.
Yeah. Who's going to tell Chris you can't write the X-Men? No one.
Yeah, not at that time.
Yep.
That's facts.
Going into this, I think we should preface it with the fact that Micronauts is very beholden, whether it's very beholden to Star Wars.
Yes, indeed.
Whether it was intentional on Mantlo's part or on a subconscious level, having just seen the movie not too long before writing this series, it's in the book. There's a story that Mantlo's son had received some Micronauts for Christmas. And Bill was looking at the toys, and he kind of fashioned a little story in his head for these things. And on spec, he sends the pitch to Marvel, and they're like, okay, if we can get the rights, yeah, why not? And the rest is history. Like, it was just Bill's brainchild. But I think there was some Star Wars creeping in there, because if you go down the list, there are a lot of similarities, right? A rebellion, a mysterious power called the Enigma Force. They got to put that Force word in there, right? That pervades this microverse. A despot who kind of sort of resembles Darth Vader a little bit.
Shiny black armor.
Yeah, little faceplate with the vents in it, and a wisecracking robot. Multiple
robots.
Yeah, well, Microtron is the wisecracker. Biotron is more the.
It's like C-3PO and R2 is my point.
Right. Microtron is definitely R2 if R2 could speak.
Right.
And Biotron C-3PO. I mean, the list is fairly long, but
the princess who's now a part of the rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah, who manages to escape and ignites the rebellion.
Yeah, blonde brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a chosen one in Ran, Arcturus Ran. He is the one destined to save, the microverse, and it's not. And there's a lot of the Millennium Falcon in the Endeavor, I think, in the fact that it's a circular form with two protruding pieces. It's not plagiarism, but it's in the spirit, and I fiercely defended Micronauts as not being a Star Wars ripoff when I was reading it, but I mean,
through older eyes.
Yeah, you do the checklist, and there's a lot of similarities. Yeah,
there is. It's undeniable. Yeah,
but that's okay, because I think Mantlo made it his own. He took. I mean, look at a rebellion and a Nazi-esque fascist, dictator trying to take over things is not a unique storyline. That's it's a trope, right? It was before Star Wars, predated Star Wars. Like, you can go down and make a list of all the things that influenced Star Wars, like Kurosawa, like all the, the Lone Wolf and Cub and all those things that George bought, like Dune. There's a lot of Dune in Star Wars. Yeah. George borrowed, Mantlo borrowed. That's the nature of creation. We take our influences and cherry pick and run with them, right? So you can't fault it for being reminiscent of a mega popular movie that came out not long before this series was published. Yeah, who cares? I think
it's not hella fun.
it is. I think it's as unique as Star Wars, and it was a shock to the Marvel universe because wow, it stood out like a sore thumb. Like nothing else at Marvel at the time looked like this. It had the old timey space opera, like the Republic serials that influenced George Lucas, and it looked phenomenal. Michael Golden was a bolt from the blue. Not similar to anybody working at Marvel at the time. Maybe Starlin. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, for Marvel, that'd be the closest. But I mean, yeah. But I see a lot of it in the early issues reminded me to a degree of Wrightson.
Yeah, same school, more or less. Yeah,
so.
yeah. They, I mean, it's going to paint us as very old
Sure.
collectors, but they were the new school guys. Starlin, Wrightson, Golden, Kelly. I mean, there's a ton that just seemed to crop up at that same time, where it was a creative explosion of new talent, which was awesome to see. I mean, when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to realize what's happening. But now that you look back at it, it's like, man, early 70s was a very fertile period at Marvel.
And I've been a Broderick fan since Micronauts, and it didn't hit me until seeing these issues back to back, minus a couple of fill-ins that drawn today they'd look amazing, but back then, it was like near perfection. Whoever came up with the idea, whether it was Alan or Weezy, to put Pat on this following Golden, because their styles are so similar with this story.
I don't know how I should proceed, but yeah, what the hell? I will preface this with saying that Michael Golden did revolutionary work on this book. It's undeniable. You just look at the product, and it is absolutely amazing. Broderick crushed Michael Golden on this book. He is.
I agree.
He's infinitely better.
I agree completely. Is that a hot take?
No, I think so. Yeah,
It probably would be, because of who Golden is, and he started off the series.
Right.
I look.
So you can forget how to draw a Kroyer, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you might as well have just pasted one of these panels out of this book. But Jason and I met Pat at Heroes our first year there. Whether it was Micronauts or Firestorm or Green Lantern or anything Pat drew, Captain Atom, when
Lords of the Ultra Realm.
Lords of the Ultra. I've been this sort of the Atom, that last special. I've been a Broderick fan since I first laid eyes on him, and while I think Golden's work here is absolutely stunning, and I think it's yes, and I think I've seen Golden over the years, and I've seen him draw other works. I don't think I'd have to do some digging, but for my money, just rereading these first 12 issues, I don't know if I think he's looked better than he. I mean, obviously this is still early and raw, but I prefer his Micronauts work, I think, to anything he did later on, even Doctor Strange stuff, anything like that. But Broderick, just, I mean, his name should be next to Mantlo's on the cover, as far as
agreed.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I acknowledge Michael Golden is a powerhouse, and the art in the first 12 is great. But you could tell page by page. You could tell the pages Michael was locked in and the ones that he was just trying to get through. You don't
you
get.
think it had something to do with that too, though? I mean, like Bob McLeod destroyed him on that issue, whatever that was that he inked him. I thought it was just I was like, that you would never convince me that was Michael Golden if I didn't see it.
Well,
on
they're
the
from
page.
two different worlds, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the Broderick stuff, he's engaged on every page. He's swinging for the fences every panel. There's not a lot of real estate that he doesn't embellish in some way. There's panels and flora and architecture and just the interior of the ship. Like, he does not play. There's one page that I think it's when Mari's blasted back, when Karza blasts the two Hydra or the two Shield agents and Mari, and she's bounced back to Homeworld, and she looks up and there's a shadow of Feroid on the bird that is it's a negative, it's just a shadow, but it's laid over the surrounding area, and it's like, holy shit, he did not have to do that. It's just he seemed to be speaking in tongues in the Micronauts, where he commanded and was very aware of every move he was making on that page. All of the creative decisions are absolutely brilliant. I don't think the Micronauts have ever looked better. And just to let the cat out of the bag, I love the first 12. I think the second half of this book is millions of times better than the first, because it takes all of the groundwork laid in the first 12 and it makes it even better. It makes everything that happened in the first half of the book makes sense, that it all happened for a reason. Karza was planning this thing from the very beginning, and the decision to do Tales of the Microverse as a backup story, but keep the same creative team, was unheard of at the time. Like, you would expect, when it was announced that they were going to do Tales from the Microverse backup, I thought, oh man, who are they going to get to draw this? Because, that's just the way it worked back in the day.
Yeah.
Your backup was never drawn by your main artist. But in this one, it was Pat doing the whole thing. And it was like 2 concurrent chapters of an ongoing serial that dovetailed at one point. And it was magnificent. It was, I didn't even see it coming, where they did all of the legwork for the Microverse in the backup stories, and then the Micronauts were tooling around in the Marvel universe in the lead stories, and then they dovetail. It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Even the quiet moments, like when in the Tales of the Microverse, like when Slug is reminiscing, he's still packing, like it's a double page spread, and it's like nothing but wall to wall, gutter to gutter. It's just like he's packing the pages full.
It's crazy the amount, the denseness of everything that Broderick brought to it. It's like he commanded the characters to the point where they started to list him as a co-storyteller with Mantlo. It was Mantlo and Broderick, and then everybody else. And I think that was warranted, because what Pat brought to it seemed to be a more active role than Golden. Like, Golden was given the script, he drew it very, very well, but it seems Broderick was like, give me that. Let's do this. Let's try. Like, he had a more engaged level of participation than I think Golden did. And if you look at the covers, Golden kept doing the covers. I think his cover work, after he left the book, his cover work, the line quality is far, far better. Obviously, it's a cover, so he had a lot more time to do it than his sequential work. His covers are great.
Mm-hmm.
if he brought that level of enthusiasm that he did on those later covers to the first 12 issues, I mean, again, I don't want to slight the work. The work is legendary, but I think Pat's is even more so. And again, like David, this is when I really became a Broderick fan. I was like, wow, this guy just held down Michael Golden's neck and like, like who can do that? It's crazy. Yeah. It's just a more attractive book under Broderick, I think. It's a more alive book under him. Yeah. But again, I don't want anybody to think you got to play it safe, right? If I'm kneecapping Michael Golden, that's not a good look because the guy has done his time. He's very, very good. But to my eyes, the Broderick stuff is much, much, much. And
because it is pleasing. Michael Golden, if I don't want to speak for Vince, but if I'm saying, or Jason, but if I'm saying Pat's work outshines Golden, and Golden is no slouch, that's just, that, for my money, that's just letting you know how great Broderick actually looks on this book.
Yeah, the book would be a really magnificent tour de force of graphic storytelling from this period if Chaykin and Milgrom didn't shit the bed.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we should mention that Al Milgrom is the editor of this book for a lot of it, and he also is the inker for a lot of it, and that can be problematic.
Yes. I think I know what happened, and I'll have to get confirmation on this. I may jump into my my history archive, but what I think happened was that Howard just did basic layouts, very, very rough layouts, and Milgrom finished them, which, when I say finished them, he basically had to draw everything. That Howard merely indicated who was who and what was where, but Milgrom actually did the drawing on that. Because if you look at Howard from that period, that stuff does not look like Howard Chaykin.
Yeah, you compare it to his Star Wars stuff.
And not only that, but he did Empire at that period. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah. It doesn't even look like the same artist.
True, and if you look at the second issue that he drew, which I think is issue 14, the credits change into layouts, Howard Chaykin layouts. Al Milgrom finishes. So yeah,
there's occasionally you'll get that chiseled jaw, Dominic Fortune look to Commander Rand. It's very fleeting. Chaykin does pop up once in a while, but for the most part, I think it's Milgrom doing all the drawing.
Yeah, it's rough. It is. It's just rough.
I don't want to call it rough.
It's rough.
In comparison to Golden and Broderick, it doesn't compare favorably. But on its own, I don't think it's horrendous. But when you establish a precedent, right? Mm-hmm. Michael Golden, and then you switch to a fairly lackluster performance by a couple of artists. In my mind, Pat Broderick saved the book.
Yeah.
Right. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because as I was reading through this and I got to the Chaykin part, and I was like, oh man, I'm like, oof. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to say that it's bad Chaykin on the show and they're going to be all mad at me. But then you alluded last episode how I was like, oh, okay, we're good. And obviously it's not Chaykin so much as we're saying. It's really more that Chaykin apparently either didn't have the interest or time to do his yeoman's work on this and left it to Milgrom. And, my dude's got to edit the book too. So, we got to give him some slack, I guess. But, yeah. But then, like you said, I was just going to say, but then, so as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, man. Because I'm thinking, because this wouldn't be the first, nostalgic Bronze Age thing where you go back and oof, the art's not what I remember it. That happened to me when I reread G.I. Joe. I was like, oh, the art just doesn't hold up for me for the most part. But yeah, like you said, but then we get Broderick and it's like the gates open and the light shines through and you're like, oh,
it's like again.
Yeah. I remember the covers to 28 and 29, I lost my shit when I got my hands on those. Like those covers they're spectacular covers. It's like everything you wanted out of Micronauts, which was mostly a Croyer, right? For me, he's the badass. He's the coolest one, I think.
And that is the way you pronounce the name.
Yeah, there's a
Croyer is it. That's there's no two ways about it.
There's this goofy thing in the book where someone in the letters page asked how the name was pronounced, and Bill says
Ackroyer.
No, Ackroyer.
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 Right.
Yeah, and
the emphasis on the
that's
Roy.
That's crazy. No, it's not a submariner type thing where submariner, but you look at that word and the second half reads year, so of course it would be a Croyer. Yeah.
There's there is a panel during the Chaykin run where it's Reed and Sue in the panel. And Sue looks like, without glasses, Cousin Oliver. I don't know who the hell this person's supposed
it's
to
rough.
be.
It is. It's rough. Yeah.
The covers. I do remember the covers.
Cousin Oliver.
As I was flipping through the omnibus, there were the covers. I was just like, holy shit! I remember this cover, even if I may not remember every single story. I do remember the one about Plant Man. I may not have remembered the one about the McDonald's burglar as much, but I absolutely remember the covers. And the covers have always been a bright spot with me with the Micronauts.
Yep. And Golden does come back for a couple issues.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this volume. Which makes me wonder, are they getting 3 volumes out of this? They're going to have to reprint the Captain Universe stuff, right? You're not going to be able to get 3 because the New Voyages was 20 issues?
Was it that long?
I think so. Yeah. So Micronauts went to 58? That's two right there. 59. It went to 59. Yeah.
Volume 2 collects up to 54.
Oh, okay.
And
so with the New Voyages, that's another 25 issues for Volume 3.
Volume 3 collects Micronauts 55 through 59, and Micronauts The New Voyages 1 through 20.
But the second one has X-Men Micronauts, the miniseries.
It should. I know it only says the Cheap Graphic Novels only has collecting 30 through 54, but I'm guessing that's also including
I hope
the miniseries because that's pretty much around, because like I said it wasn't like this book ended and then we got the limited series and then we got the New Voyages. This was ongoing while we got the X-Men Micronauts limited series, so it would make sense to put that.
It's only 30 through 54.
Well,
I'm looking at the official solicit.
That's crazy because there's almost there's an official connection to the X-Men.
I think that might be a typo. I think they may have just made an error. I feel like it's going to be in the second volume. Even though we're seeing it's only 30 through 54, I have a feeling it's in the second volume.
I hope so. Because Nightcrawler's in issue 37. There's a gateway to the miniseries from the ongoing. So, yeah.
And why would you not? I mean,
I don't get it.
You're going to go through all this effort of reprinting the Micronauts stuff finally after all these years and not include those 4 issues?
It's crazy talk.
It really is.
There's also a Frank Miller issue somewhere in there, too.
The Frank Miller.
The Frank Miller, yes. So, I just love this series. It's one of those things that it didn't reinvigorate my love of comics. I think it was more of a lock at the time because completely enamored with the medium, right? And then this blizzard of titles, Micronauts, ROM. it seemed like Marvel was producing things specifically for me. It's a very narcissistic viewpoint, but that's the way I felt. Everything Marvel was publishing at this time was clicking. Not so much in the main titles, for the most part, but the things that were non-traditional, like Shogun Warriors and Godzilla. And it's like, it couldn't get any better for me. Hulk was great at this time, of course. But, it's a very, very fond period of Marvel history for me.
Yeah, the more I think about it, we got 31 issues, and 2 of those issues were thick because they were annuals in this first volume. 1 through 29 plus the 2 annuals. Books 2 and 3, just by going by the solicits, are only giving us 24 books each. So you've got room for the miniseries in one of those 2.
Yeah. So what was your favorite part of this story?
Well, I think, like, I know you're saying, and I don't disagree, like, art-wise and stuff, like, beyond the first 12, I think his its highest. I mean, I was pretty into the first 12. I mean, for those listening that aren't familiar, I mean, the first 12 is almost like a 12-issue maxi series where we basically get the arc of the main characters. We get the formation of the Rebel Alliance, as it were. We get all the way through at least for now, the defeat of the big bad in Baron Karza, which basically happens in the 11th issue, and then we get sort of an epilogue. But we get a full and complete epic to these characters, and then as we know from, if you read the whole omnibus, like, Karza eventually comes back, but like that was sort of like standalone, self-satisfying, like you said, Golden Drew, the whole thing. It's like kind of, and I did enjoy it. I mean, I thought, like you said, it's very reminiscent of Star Wars, but that's okay. I mean, like many people my age, Star Wars is like hallowed ground. So if you do good, a good take on it, I'm not mad at that, because it's a story that works. But so I guess favorite. I mean, so I hasten to maybe say that, honestly, but then I think the book gets so different because they're kind of free from that shackles of that grand epic, and then they start having a lot of run-ins with more, or existing Marvel Universe characters, including the FF, and that's cool too, but it didn't feel as significant because, like, in the first 12, like, they're fighting for, like, the control of their galaxy, and it was like, it was like, in the subsequent pages, it's like, well, they kind of, they're just going on adventures, and that's cool, but it didn't feel like the stakes were as big to me.
Wow. I was struck dumb at how nuanced the story is, having read it now many years after I originally read these issues. I've read them again, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more, but with fresh eyes. Mantlo had this thing planned out from the very beginning. And one of the things I took away from it is, in the tradition of Marvel, where they would just have somebody appear in another person's book willy-nilly, like, oh, Spider-Man's going to appear in this issue of whatever, Daredevil. Okay, that's fun. Or, there's a lot of cross-pollination at Marvel. None of the appearances that Mantlo injected into the Micronauts saga are superfluous. They all have a reason. There's a concrete reason why the Marvel Universe creeps into the Micronauts story. In the beginning, with the Prometheus pit, right? The trophies that Prometheus kept are given to S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And then Reed gets involved into it. Because Reed has experience in the microverse, or with the microverse. And then the S.H.I.E.L.D. connection leads the way to the S.H.I.E.L.D. Espers, right? And the Mantlo and the Fixer with Computron. That's important because it opens the way for Mantlo to use all that psi energy as a way of Karza getting back to the microverse. Like, every part of this thing makes sense. Not only in terms of the Marvel Universe, but more sense in terms of the story Mantlo was telling. Like, all of the pieces are fairly crucial. They're not just one-off appearances. They mean things. And it's just like I feel like he had this, not only the 12-issue story, I think he had the bulk of this volume planned out well in advance. You can't just wing it, do something haphazardly and make this much synergistic sense, right? It's uncanny how much of it just fits so nicely together. Like everything has an explanation. Everything works. Oh yeah. Remember when Karza threw Argon into the body banks and turned him into roughly Force Commander? Well, he had a plan. And that plays out. And Shaitan, who was an albino, like if there was ever a reason for a character to feel lost among his own people, if you are an albino in a race of dark-skinned warriors and you're ridiculed and you're mocked and your brother is the prince, like of course you're going to feel like secondary citizen, so you're going to want to get yours, so you hook up with the bad guy. Like it just all makes so much sense. It's orchestrated is what I'm trying to say, and it's crazy. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think it really shines through if you're juxtaposing it against other comics you may revisit from these time periods, right? Which is just that for as much as we romanticize it, in a lot of cases, these guys were just punched in the clock. Like,
right. I could see them conceiving things on an issue by issue basis.
We know from different biographies or documentaries we've seen or whatever about the bullpen. Like we knew that's how it was. I mean, literally they sit down and like riff and make a story up on the fly, and the next month they're like, oh damn, I got to write another story. And so I think to your point, like it's really now there's an expectation today that people writing these books have A plots and B plots and C plots, right? And they're stringing them along. Like that's kind of become the discipline and the expectation as fans of reading it, that we want those nuances and those builds. But I think back then, like you said, it was so unusual, and I think I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think if people are reading this now and they don't have that context, they may just think like, oh, okay, yeah, like because it'll just feel like a story, like the way a story should be in comics. But it's so important with these things to remember when it was written and if it was distinctive in the time, right? Like it may not feel as distinctive now in that regard, but it was super distinctive then.
Yeah. And if you were an evil entity that wanted to take over not only your own universe but another one as well, and you find yourself in the Marvel universe, of course Karza was going to hook up with Hydra. Like it writes itself, and it's one of those ideas that's so simple, but I don't think many other than Mantlo would have came up with it, right? And they are the quintessential worms in the apple in the Marvel universe. Look what they did to Captain America, right? They're this evil underlying force that just wants to despoil everything. That's Karza's boys. Of course he would hook up with them. Like it's just stupid how good this series is. Yeah.
Granted it's going to happen this year, but it's I don't want to wait until the end of September to get the second volume.
Yeah, it's well, you don't have the singles?
Scattered around here and there, probably.
Yeah, I'd have to do a lot of heavy lifting and go through a bunch of boxes to get them all. So yeah, I'm eager for that second volume too. Okay, how about this? Your choice for weakest character. It's hard. It's hard to find the weakest character because they're all very well formed. They're extremely believable characters. Who's the one? If you had to cut a character from this entire saga, who would you take out?
Maybe. The one probably Celicia.
Yeah, she's the weakest link, I think.
Yeah.
Because nothing she's done other than aiding a Croyer in the entire series is crucial to the plot. Everybody else does something that is integral to that story
Right.
moving forward. Yeah,
And she's real quick to drop him when when he makes his sacrifice. I understand why, but
Hey,
because
yeah.
she's all about the people. But it's
he just killed the planet. Well,
not-
he
she's
didn't
not ride or die
He
on
didn't
it.
do it. Shaitan
No,
did
it's
it.
his
He's-
shithead.
he's
It's
picking
his
up the
fucking-
pieces.
his dumbass brother.
Yeah.
And Karza, again, to your point about Karza thinking everything through, it's like, so my man figures, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna get back at Karza because he's dicking me, so I'm gonna screw him over. But of course, he goes to the fucking the Mind Force from Spartak, and it's like, dude, you got to be alive to wield.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
it's like-
Yeah.
Damn,
Cuz is like, you know what? You're so stupid. You stupid.
stupid.
You stupid.
Yeah. It's just, man, it's brilliant. It's one of those books that I don't have the superlatives in my command to really relate just how great I think this thing is.
And the little things, like even as, because obviously when we first meet a Kroyer, he's battle tested, he's a hard motherfucker, and as he says in the second year of the book, and after Bug, the Galactic Warrior, frees Dagon from the suspended animation, and Microtron specifically, and Celicia, to her credit, they don't trust this dude, and but a Kroyer who should probably follow everybody else's lead is just like, listen, I've spent enough time with these people that I'm calling friends that are becoming my family. I understand love now. I understand compassion. So, not everything needs to be so all about war and battle and just.
Yeah, he grows.
People can grow. You can show
journey.
and
Spiritual.
exactly. And a Kroyer is like, listen, before now, but before this crew, I would have been really quick to say you're a coward. You're an Kroyer. You're supposed to go out and fight with us. But I get it. You need to, if you need time, if you feel there's something better for your time to do, like go and handle the turrets, that's cool. You do you. We'll take care of this. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. But again, it wasn't like a Kroyer was just like, you know what, I trust him, and it was a complete absence of character. It was just like we saw him go from A to B, and another credit to Mantlo for that. But I mean, although maybe it was, I'm glad that we didn't get 6 issues of Prometheus in space and how he became the way he became, but there were times where maybe I'm like, well, okay, Barry's really quick to with these feelings for love, but again, you can't. The heart wants what the heart wants, and if she sees something in Arcturus that she can bond with, that there's something about him that she's falling in love with, and here's this 1,000-year-old man who's been asleep for most of that time. If and again, it was one of those things where he's just like, listen, I'm way older than her. I don't know if I should really maybe have these feelings. Got over that real quick, but it was it's each character. It's not just this inner micro space battle between good and evil. It's a lot of nuances, a lot of layers with these characters. We see them grow. And I mean, and after these 29 plus annual issues, you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen Kars's fate. You haven't seen Rand's Hand's fate. Like, there's things that happen in this series as it continues over the next few years. Man, it's insane how much story we get out of just out of not even 100 issues total between the 2 volumes.
Right.
It's just, oh my God.
One of the things, again, that I was reminded of reading it was just how brutal the series is.
Everybody's dying.
Yeah, it doesn't play like it doesn't play out like the Marvel Universe.
No.
I think it starts with the body banks. That's pretty grim. where the lower caste citizens are used as body parts for the rich and powerful. That's pretty dark. But the one scene that really tapped me on the shoulder and reminded me was at the end of the first arc, after the Karza and his minions are crushed, and Slug is rounding up all the people, and they have a very, very short chat with two of the rich fat cats that basically took advantage of everyone with the body banks, and she gives them the opportunity to recant, and they're just like, fuck no, we're rich, we want everything to go back the old way, and then they're killed. They just kill them. They have these rich people just killed for just being rich people, and it's like, that's great. Yeah. And then as the series progressed, there's more death in it, like some
my boy Biotron.
Well, yeah, that's death in quotes, but like Jasmine dead.
Yeah.
Even the queen, the
queen,
right. Caliclac
it was
queen.
A sacrifice.
Well, it's a sting,
right? Yes,
you only get to do that once. Yeah,
right. And even she was just like, here's an Acroyer who won't do what he's supposed to do. I'll take care of this. I'll take this new Karza out. But the bludgeoning, there were I was surprised, still even rereading it now, how just the just abandoned life for a bunch of folks in this book.
Yeah. And I keep going back to the concept of the Enigma Force. That is that wasn't something that just like, this is cool, I'll stick it in the book. That was a carefully calculated, brilliant concept where Ran is on this 1,000-year journey to bring the homeworld to alien races and a peace mission. And at every instance of his journey, as they say in quantum mechanics, every decision branches the multiverse, where there's the one path and then there's an infinite number of paths what could have been, right? So every time Rand encounters something, that creates a time traveler. And there are thousands of time travelers. And the fact that they all combine or they all power this mystical energy called the Enigma Force. Like, that's great. That's taking Star Wars and making it better, because there's a rich concept there. And then the big spoiler, the reveal that all of Karza's shadow priests were all time travelers. It's crazy. It's insane. It's like, you want to question whether or not Mantlo was from this planet in the first place, like, because it's just so carefully masterminded. Every wrinkle in the story is just, I found the Caliclac queen to be a little Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, I didn't know she had a stinger. Like, if he introduced that, if that was
the same page that she does it in.
Yeah, if that was a thing going in, that would have been a richer experience. But just the fact that she just reveals this suicide sting and jabs it in Karza's back, it was fun and it was unexpected, but it was kind of like, I need something to slow Karza down here. What am I going to do? But no, just the majority, 99% of the story is very carefully orchestrated. It's just such a joy to read and revisit. I think this is the best omnibus, but I'm biased. But yeah,
I mean, okay, so the Defenders was, then the Captain America one came out, and then it wasn't, and now
the Mad Bomb one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot too, and I do like the Man-Thing one, but yeah, I think there's a wealth of background information in this one that the other omnibus.
I don't want you to take it back.
I'm not saying quality. Yes. And maybe I am saying
that at that time.
Well, yeah, it's the new hotness.
This one came out.
It's a new hotness. But if you look at people at home, if you look in the back of this omnibus, there are a number of text pieces by Bill Mantlo giving you further insight into the creative process. You get to see actual penciled pages by Golden and Company. I think
his
this
original pitch. You see how he was pitching it originally, like to your point about the
Yeah.
characters and
Yeah.
how you can see how they changed obviously once it became a comic. It's really neat. It is well done in that regard. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I mean, yeah, we also get the letters pages in here, but you have the Chris Real intro, and then you have Mantlo's notes at the end from 1978 after the series started. The fact that the back matter is absolutely worth the price of admission. I feel for this. I mean, listen, we get on the booze that we'll just have the issues themselves, and you'll get the covers, and maybe some promotional art or some house ads or something like that, and then that's it. But I mean, they went all in on this, and this is a contender for reprint for the Ecloscars. I really, really appreciate the love that they put into this particular volume.
I just wish, and I don't know whether it was a licensing thing, or I wish they had images of the actual Mego toys.
Yeah,
just as a nice little comparative piece where people that maybe weren't alive then could see the actual toys, and just how closely both Golden and Broderick followed the actual toys.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of extraneous stuff. Like there's a unique spin put on some characters, like Biotron. He's kind of clunky in toy form, and they made him a little bit more animated, both of them, like in the series. But for the most part, the glider packs are exactly like the toys, and just a number of characters trail through this book, and the adherence to the actual designs of the toys is remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. They I don't know if they got samples or if they were given, a bunch of reference from Mego, but all of the renditions of the characters are dead on in a lot of spaces. It's just phenomenal. Just how, cause we see a lot of licensed books and adaptations and stuff, and there's a lot of creative leeway. As long as you're in the zone, I don't think, there's wiggle room, is what I'm saying. But these artists approached it where, well, this is what it looks like. We got to draw it this way. And they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Respect. Yeah.
And if you didn't know or you forgot, Dallin and Sepsis are Rand's parents.
Yeah.
Because they'll remind you almost every other issue.
I wish they gave us a little bit more background on both of them. Cause like Septic is just kind of like a arm candy for Dallin. Like we get a little insight into both of them, but I would like to have them fleshed out a little bit more, but there wasn't room for that. It would have been nice, but they're both Ghost Ben, right? They're the thing that drive the entire rebellion.
I mean, that's, and because I kind of forgot that there was that connection that Professor Baron Karza, the scientist, mentored Arcturus when he was younger, and so he gets sent away, and he comes back, and not only are his parents dead, but they were killed at the hands of his mentor, and it's
Who's also 1,000 years old.
Right, and because of the goddamn body banks. But I don't, normally, I'm more inclined to go with stories that have random events. Like I didn't need to know that whoever killed Bruce Wayne's parents were. I didn't care about a connection to that. I didn't need in the third Spider-Man movie that Sandman was involved in Ben's death. Like sometimes shit just happens. We don't need the connection like that.
Fucking Sandman.
And here we have but this actually works because it adds to it heightens the suspense and the draw. It might be a trope or cliche, but it absolutely worked here, and I ain't mad about it. I'm going to be flipping through this for for a while now. This is
Forever.
Yeah, I'm so glad that they finally made this.
It's about damn time. It's a dream come true, actually.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel's providing all the fan service, man, with these. I mean, you probably weren't. I mean, I don't think you bought too many omnibus in recent years, and now it's like every month you got to bang one or two out.
Yeah, it's a wonderful problem to have. And I'm not very big on like I love the omnibus format, but I can't justify buying a big ass thick volume that's going to take up a lot of shelf space for books that I already own.
Same, yeah.
But in this case, this is not only, I mean, yes, I own all these issues, but it's more an act of convenience on my part and reference, because now I can pull it off the shelf very easily within minutes and revisit it, where if I had to corral all these issues, it would take a long time.
Right.
Yeah. So wonderful. Thank you, Marvel. Keep it up.
Yeah. I read booze in the last 6 months than I'd read probably in like the last 5 years.
Same.
Yeah. Okay.
I could only wish for a Human Fly omnibus. That would be great.
Wow.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah. Same relative period.
Would that even be an omnibus? I mean, how many issues?
Oh, he went on for at least 20. Maybe a little
that's
more.
what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, one and done, but still. That's what Godzilla is, done in one.
I remember the special editions from the early 80s.
Yeah.
Because I also I bought the Green Lantern, Green Arrow special editions that collected that had like 2 issues each of the Hard Traveling Heroes. So I like the oversized reprints, new covers, and because I mean at this point when the special edition books came out, it was 4 or 5 years after the series had started. So if you weren't able to get those early issues, those first year or 2 issues, then this was the only way to read it. So
yeah, at one time they were fairly tough to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is crazy. Because now you can get them; they're fairly common.
Is it? Are they really?
They don't. I don't think they go for huge amounts of money. No.
Okay.
Yeah. But back in the day, it was like a nudge. You got a Micronauts #1, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you, Marvel, and keep it up.
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Yep.
Please, yeah.
We're so glad you spent some time with us talking about Micronauts. I hope it's enjoyable to listen to 3 Jamokes talk about a book they just honestly love. Yeah.
Jabron.
Yeah. So you know where you can get this? cheapgraphicnovels.com. They have it.
That's where I got mine.
Many more things for much less than what other people are paying, because you're smarter. You go to cheapgraphicnovels.com, you buy something, you respond to the email, you tell Max that 11 O'Clock Comics sent you, and he will give you free shipping on your next order. It's amazing. Plus, do some investigating. There's like a Nick and Dent, which aren't really Nick and Dent, but it's a liquidation sale. You can get Marvel hardcovers and trade paperbacks on the cheapness. It's just beautiful. cheapgraphicnovels.com. And remember the Patreon, patreon.com/11 O'Clock Comics. We have a nice little influx of new patrons that are joining the family, and the Slack is bumping. Some of our patrons are boomerangs. They join and they fly out into the world, and they come back a month or two later, and then
set the bird free, and if they come back, they really love you, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
great. I mean, hey, no harm, no foul. That's fun. Gives us something to look forward to. So check it out. In your travels, I want Jason to go first, because there's a book on his list that I read that I want to know what he thinks.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm
based on your setup, thinking I'm not going to pick the book you think I'm going to pick, because My Inner Travels is Tezukami Volume 2, and I don't see that on your list.
Oh, no. This is not on my list because I didn't want you to know I've read it. But
Okay, well, let me tell you My Inner Travels, and then we can talk about this book that you're alluding to. This is the second and sadly final volume of the Tezuka anthology that I waxed lovingly about the first volume a couple episodes back. In this one, we get Big X by David LaFuente, Creature and the Destroyer by Felipe Cardona and Florence Torta, which is an Astro Boy story. We get a Blackjack by Bertrand Gatignol. We get a Message to Adolf story by Juan Diaz Canales of Black Sad fame. We get a Kimba, the White Lion by Reno Lemaire. Apollo Song by Louis NCT, who was in the first volume as well. We get a Joe Kelly and Ken Nomura, I Kill Giants, doing Blackjack. We get Elsa Brantz doing Princess Knight, and the book wraps up with Kenny Ruiz doing Phoenix, Team Phoenix. So, really amazing stuff. And if you take the 2 volumes in total, it is going to be very hard to dislodge those 2 efforts from my favorite anthology this year when we tally the votes.
Yes, of course. They're great books.
So what do you think that I was going to say?
Well, I'm guessing you think I'm talking about the last book on your list?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That was hot trash. The one I'm talking about is the second one on your list.
Oh, okay.
What'd you think of that?
Why don't you tell the people what you're talking about?
No, I want to hear it from you because I need to hear it out of your mouth.
I mean, okay. I feel like you're setting me up for failure here. Ain't No Grave, number 1 is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're alluding to? This, of course, is our boy Scotty's new book, along with Jorge Corona. And it is, as we knew going in, it is a supernatural Western comic. And I loved it. Thought it was awesome. I mean, listen, these are creators that are like, especially working together, like I adore. So, and it's obviously a genre that we often talk about how there isn't enough out there for. So yeah, I was totally down with it. Like 100%. I thought it was great.
It hit me like Christmas morning.
Nice.
I thought it was spectacular. I know I don't talk up a lot of Scotty stuff. You've never heard me talk up Strange Academy, and rarely extraneous things. Not that I'm not reading them, but I think this book is absolutely perfect, and I think it's very, very strong. Not only the art, which come on, it's gorgeous, but Scotty's writing is really tight on this book. I loved everything about it. A supernatural Western, this is what we need.
We need it. We need it.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the spin-off book.
That's the thing about like as a first issue too. It's he hit all the right beats, right?
Of course,
learn about the characters, but there's still enough mystery to you want to learn more, and then you get this just massive climax to the book, the last double page spread page where we kind of get the declaration of what the rest of the book's going to be about, and it should pull you right in, right? Like this is, you can safely say that if you didn't pre-order this book and you go to your shop and you pick up the first issue, you will instantly know if you're hooked for the whole series or not based on this issue, because you got everything you need. You know exactly what the rest of the book's going to be about now, and that last spread is just gorgeous. I mean, talk about the level of detail in that entire like cave cityscape. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's a much more sober affair than Scotty's, I don't want to say regular, but the stuff that he's been doing for a stretch has been humorous and
this is the same team behind Middle West, and it's got that vibe, I think.
Right. I think
same.
This one clicks with me much more than Middle West did.
Uh-huh.
What I love that Jorge can just pretty much draw anything, because this doesn't look anything like Transformers, and nor should it. But it's just, he's really, his style works with pretty much any kind of concept, but this is just it really is it's a gorgeous looking book, and naturally Scotty's colorist of choice helps with making it look as good as it does with Jean-François Belleau.
Yeah. Underrated. Should have been on one of our lists last episode. As a colorist. I think he needs more love. I try and say his name, but I screw it up.
Mm.
Yeah. French guy.
Yeah, the French guy.
The French guy.
The French dude coloring books over there.
Yeah.
Get by.
So that's Jason's in your travels and mine.
There you go.
You know,
Go.
then we'll just wrap it up and we'll do a 3-way. That's fine.
Ooh, Eiffel
nice.
Tower. Speaking of the frauds, there you go. All right, everybody. So silly. Hey, we thank you for being here with us. Come back next time because there'll be more of the same comic goodness for your entertainment. In the meantime, go buy some comics. Read them, share them, get other people involved in comics. Show them the love. Show them why you love it so much, and maybe they'll be instigated to buy some comics themselves. And just say goodnight. Thank you, Pat Broderick. David.
Good night. David.
Yay! Tell them how you feel.
I feel good.
Oh, about that. Well, somebody just jumped up onto the windowsill. Great. Yeah. We love you.
Love you tons. Love you more if you pick up Micronauts Volume 1.
And 2 and 3.
Yes.
It would be the perfect year if they all come out at the same year, but Volume 3 is scheduled for January.
Aw, dang.
It's okay.
It is.
It's okay.
We've got plenty to keep it company.
Yes.
That's it for that one.